Hey everyone, welcome to the Dashboard Canteen, the podcast where we explore how data shapes the way we work, the way we decide and grow. I'm your host, David Druckmann at Shift Consulting, and today we're diving into a topic that's transforming how organizations make decisions, cutting through AI noise. So joining me today is Jane Smith, Field Chief Data and AI Officer at ThoughtSpot, an upcoming leader in delivering modern business intelligence solutions. And at Shift, we know about reporting, and one of the main reasons why we're working with ThoughtSpot is their expertise with full natural language reporting. We're here to unpack what natural language reporting really means, why it's more important than ever, and what businesses need to consider when adopting it. So, let's get started. So a lot of our companies, a lot of our clients are talking about AI. We're seeing AI everywhere. And I think for some of us who are beginning to be overwhelmed by AI vendors all promising the same thing, you're not alone. Today, we're your decoder ring for the AI analytics market. And I think perhaps we can start with you again, Jane. I think in the last two podcasts, you were saying that there's a bit of widespread confusion in the AI space, largely fed by vendors doing similar things. What are you seeing in the AI market?
Hi, David. Great to be here. Always happy to help cut through noise. If you create any of it myself. What we're seeing all the big players, the big technology players in the space looking to give an offering around AI operations. And certainly this is understandable. We can see why this is happening. It's happening because we're at this point in time where we're really moving away from AI as emerging technology towards AI as core operations. We're moving away from innovations, from proof of concepts to big enterprise-wide AI strategies. We're moving away from a sort of a governance and compliance gray area to compliance really having caught up. And because we're at this point in time when we're moving towards AI productionizing, operationalizing, the big players are starting to give offers that cover the entire AI ecosystems. So what we're seeing our Amazons, Google, Snowflake, Databricks, Microsoft, they're all owning the entire space, everything from storage, compute, machine learning operations, analytics, the whole space. The agent supervisors now increasingly, they're looking to own that whole space. And this is very confusing if you're on the buy side, because a lot of these products look very, very similar. And you sort of think, well, why would I go with this one? What do they do well? Why don't I go with this one? What's different? And it's, up until quite recently, I was a chief data officer. I was a buyer of these services myself. And it was very overwhelming.
So you mentioned big players pushing towards new AI systems. You also mentioned end-to-end ecosystems. What's the risk of these approaches for businesses?
Well, the main risk is vendor lock-in. You get locked into one vendor for all elements of your AI ecosystem. It becomes very hard to move away. Now, I certainly see the appeal. Up until not very long ago, I was considering this myself. I was thinking, well, do I go with this large provider or this one? Because then basically I have half the number of invoicing processes to go through. I have half the number of monthly meetings to have. So I definitely see the appeal. But, I think it's the easy answer. I don't think it's the right answer. If you're locked into a vendor, you benefit from what they do really well, but you sort of suffer from what they don't do well. Now, there's one big player in the list I mentioned that are really excellent at storage. They do it very, very well. It's very easy to use the user interface in the storage. They do it really well, but they maybe don't do some other elements very, very well. So you get locked into that, and it's it's hard for any of us really, to have leverage with the big technology providers. And if you're locked into the end-to-end ecosystem, then that's compounded.
I totally agree. I think even in terms of office solutions, it's very easy to get locked into the Microsoft solutions. Totally agree with that. So as a more neutral player, how does ThoughtSpot help customers navigate these tricky waters?
Yes, and we are neutral really in this space. We only do one element. We only do the natural language analytics. We do one thing. We do it really well, but we only do one thing. So we can decode a lot of this. Whereas the big players are pushing everyone towards the end-to-end ecosystem. So my best practice always, and this was long before I joined ThoughtSpot, I always think domain level microservices are the way to go. have your stack split up into the tools that do the really good job, do the thing that they're best in. Now, your company might have some exceptional factors. You might have your own reasons for different things. But I always think, who's really good at storage, who's really good at ML operations, who's great at natural language analytics, and I'd start there. I'd make that your starting point, and then maybe if you see massive cost benefit or massive maybe benefits for like integrations to having the same player do.
It also takes us a bit to the kind of determining which of the companies is really the proven or not. And I think AI, as it is still fairly new, and I think some companies are perhaps having difficulty seeing, how can you figure out which of those AI companies or which of those AI capabilities are actually proven in the market and what's still a demo. So let me ask you the question, what are the AI capabilities that are actually proven in the market versus what is still in the demo phase? Can you answer that?
I can, yes. I mean, when it comes to some of the more modern applications of AI, the agentic and autonomous, honestly, a lot of it is still demo. We're learning this space, so don't be surprised if you look at two of the large companies and they're multi-agent supervised and they're not proven in the market. Well, nobody's proven it yet. This is what it is to work in edge technology. I can speak, of course, to when it comes to agentic analytics. I can tell you 100% that ThoughtSpot is proven in the market. Natural language analytics has been built search native for the last 12 years. And that's very different to a demo of something that purports to provide the same quality when, in reality, it is an LLM, an analytics assistant, or it's building natural language on top of something that was built for config. So you can get to these things just by asking. So which clients do you run this with? How many years have you run with them? How what kind of industries are you proven with this? These are questions that you could even talk to a couple of your clients. These are all things you can get to with some disciplined questioning.
Yeah, very clear. Very clear. I think for those who didn't listen to the previous podcast, you were talking a little bit about deterministic against probabilistic mechanics of AI. And I think, like you say, ThoughtSpot, you've been working on those problems for 12 years now. And I think you've got to a point where you've got a very deterministic system that's reduces to zero hallucinations. And I think you've got something that's really proven in the market compared to some others where they're wrapping existing LLM AIs to existing reporting systems. So I think that's becoming quite clear.
I'm going to just jump with a few words on that, David, if you don't mind. Sorry to interrupt you. So just because I think it's so important, that point about the difference between a deterministic output that doesn't hallucinate in a wrapper, that tends to be not so much with the big established players. This is with a lot of the new entrants, the much smaller. They will send your data to an LLM. The big players that we've been discussing more in this podcast that offer the end-to-end solutions, they give you a more deterministic output, certainly. They tend to be built on, they require quite a lot of modeling underneath in order to make that deterministic output able to answer the questions in natural language. They're not able to work as much on the fly as something like ThoughtSpot or something like one of the newer offers.
Are there any trends that people should be looking out for? Are there any trends that people should pay attention to? And more, I think, for some of those decision makers, are there any things that people can safely ignore for now?
So the way I think about this is AI agents, they get all the airtime. Indeed. All the chats, they're on all the podcasts. But the AI infrastructure really is being built quietly in the background. And if you are a data leader of any sort, I think you should keep your ear to the ground on this one. I think you should keep appraised of these developments. What we're seeing is, we are moving away from isolated AI tools to agents that access data and tools. So the big development I'm going to reference here is MCP, the Model Context Protocol. It was launched by Anthropic late last year. It's really gained traction in February this year. And that's a standard that lets AI agents call tools and call data sources safely. In ThoughtSpot, actually, we have our own MCP server. So through a LLM front end, maybe through a Claude or something, a business can ask a question in natural language and they can get an answer from there. It will call ThoughtSpot's agent spotter and they will be able to get an answer to this question that spans structured data, unstructured data, and world data. Now, the MCP is a huge development. This is a big step forward towards this more connected AI world. We're definitely keep appraised of that. I think, hot on the heels of that, Google announced their A to A, their agent to agent, which is a protocol for agents from different vendors to negotiate, to collaborate, to share tasks. So it's visionary at the moment. It's not quite with us, but these are the things we need to know about, because we're starting to see how we can have an ecosystem that isn't dependent on one single player. Probably the last one I'll just finish on, because I think this is really exciting and really worth knowing. It's the NANDA, the Networked Agents and Decentralized AI. It's MIT's open protocol for registry, for verification, for reputation amongst AI agents.
Totally agree.
Yeah, autonomous AI, it's a system of many systems that's quietly coming online. So while we sort of chat about agents and things a lot, this is being built in the foundation. The foundations are behind us. So I am a data leader, but I would say to any data leader, just keep your eye on these developments.
Agreed. I think AI is evolving now into a set of systems that are beginning to talk more and more to each other, and I think that's the definite direction that things are going. I totally agree. Thank you very much for that. That's very clear. So let's get on to the practical roadmap. I mean, so you're a CDO trying to build an AI strategy. Would you recommend a step-by-step approach that could be applied to this kind of strategy?
Yes. And you know me, David, I like to go small. I try not to go with huge, big multi-year plans that require you to recruit millions of people. But I think as broad steps, what people want from digital investments, I'm sure I said this previously on a podcast, they essentially want three things: revenue growth, operating margin, and asset efficiency. So have the use cases against those and be able to show progress. That's kind of our starting point for building a strategy. There's no need to boil the ocean with this. There's no need to go across the entire company and get every single use case and start to prioritize and put on a matrix. I've been there. I've done that. There's a great way to do things. I think also, as ever, good quality data. We always used to say garbage in, garbage out. But in the AI era, when you have 10x the content, I think we need to start saying garbage in, catastrophic disaster. Paying attention, if you're creating a strategy, paying attention to the semantic layer. We've talked about this. Agents need to understand our business the way that humans need to.
Yeah.
If you have 20 different definitions for what customer churn means, that's not a good thing. Machines are going to become confused about it.
Agreed.
Metadata, David, in what scenario do we not need good metadata? Labels, lineage, timestamps, context. These are the difference between our agents being trusted to do work and not trusted. And, if you're developing your strategy, now more than ever is the time to engage our people and to share this new world with them. And it's difficult because we are going to face some very new paradigms to think about things that we've taken for granted for many years now.
Agreed.
Yeah, I haven't talked much about human in the loop. It sort of deserves its own podcast. But just decisions, like traditionally, your power in a company was very closely tied to your power to make decisions. And we're moving away from data as decision support to decision augmentation to decision ownership. What's the right way to do this? So there's a lot of changes coming to people. And we don't know what all those changes are going to be. We don't know what they're going to look like, but one thing we do know in ThoughtSpot, we know that AI that is done to people gets no traction. AI that is built together ends adoption.
And I think you're absolutely right saying that. I think the core of the to really have a great success when it comes to reporting is to ensure that the data that goes in the first place is well catalogued. Make sure the metadata is very clean, and that's the first step on that road to building an AI strategy, making sure that things are put together in a very clear way, making sure that we respond to those three questions that you pointed out as well. And I think that's very clear. I think there's quite a lot of things going on. Are there any questions executives should ask vendors to separate them from hype? I think we often have a difference between substance and hype. And are there any questions that executives should ask vendors about that?
I mean, I always start with what's proven in the market. We see lovely demos today, beautiful demos, but your demo is not the same as having many customers having used this tool before. And we should feel empowered to ask that, if you are in a sensitive industry with, pardon me, Sammy, if you're in insurance and you're answerable to the FCA, you should feel more than empowered to say what other clients in financial services or in pharma, something analogous, heavily regulated, use this. Can I speak? I think, when you talk to vendors, you need to get very much into the what and the how become the kind of the same question. That's how I try to think about it. So if something is, doing natural language search, how is it doing natural language search? And this, when we talked about earlier, so that you don't get hallucinations, so that you get traceable output. Whenever a vendor says to me, oh, this is what we're doing, this is what it looks like, and I think, wow, that looks amazing. Tell me how. All your questions, how would you guarantee the security of this? How do you guarantee the role-based access controls? So the what and the how become the same thing.
I totally agreed. Thank you very much. Very clear. Okay, so I'm not going to ask you a last question today because I think we're on our penultimate episode of the Dashboard Canteen. Thank you very much, Jane. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe, share with a colleague, and stay tuned. We'll be back soon with more stories from the front lines of data-driven business. Until then, stay curious, stay data savvy.